Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu, and with me is Aditi Lumba, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. Delhi Regional Security Dialogue convened by India over Afghanistan situation to be held on Wednesday in New Delhi. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval holds bilateral talks with his counterparts from Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. The US and UK recognizes India's Covaxin COVID vaccination for inbound travel. Health Minister hails global acceptance of India's vaccines and vaccination process as 96 countries have agreed to mutual acceptance of vaccination certificates with India. President Ramnath Kovind confers Padma Awards for the year 2021. Singer S.P. Balasubramaniam, Indian-American scientist Dr. Narendra Singh Kapani and Gandhian peace activist Maulana Wahiuddin Khan awarded Padma Vibhushan posthumously. Crew 2 astronauts return after record mission at the International Space Station. And in the ICC Men's T20 World Cup, England to take on New Zealand in the first semi-final on Wednesday. The Delhi Regional Security Dialogue, which is being convened by India over the Afghanistan situation, will be held in New Delhi on Wednesday. The dialogue will be held at the level of National Security Advisors or Secretaries of Security Councils and will be chaired by India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. The dialogue will witness participation of Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, Russia, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. India had also invited Pakistan and China for the meeting. However, both countries are not participating. China has said it is unable to attend the meeting due to scheduling issues, but is open for dialogue with India on Afghanistan multilaterally and bilaterally. This is the first time all Central Asian countries, not just Afghanistan's immediate land neighbors, are participating in this format. The enthusiastic response to India's invitation has been attributed to the importance attached to India's role to promote peace and security in Afghanistan. Sources said there will be discussions over the security situation in Afghanistan, radicalization, extremism, drug production and trafficking. Threats emanating from military weapons left behind in Afghanistan will also be part of discussion. The meeting will also deliberate on issues of humanitarian assistance in Afghanistan. India's NSA Mr. Ajit Doval met his Tajik and Uzbek counterparts on Tuesday in New Delhi. According to sources, Mr. Doval and his Tajik counterpart had a detailed exchange of views on Afghanistan with significant convergence of assessments. Both sides expressed concerns on the sharp increase in terrorist threats from Afghanistan in the recent past. Tajik side highlighted the gravity of the situation in Afghanistan. On the bilateral side, discussions took place on deepening cooperation in areas like defense, border management and border infrastructure development. With Uzbekistan, the two sides agreed that the future of Afghanistan must be decided by the people of Afghanistan themselves. They felt that the legitimacy of any Afghan government within Afghanistan was important before the issue of its international recognition. Both sides emphasized the need for Afghanistan's neighbors to ensure unhindered access of humanitarian assistance to the people of Afghanistan. They also agreed that neighboring states must play a constructive role in Afghanistan and the need for long-term economic development of Afghanistan.
With the ongoing UN Climate Summit or the Conference of Parties COP26 in Glasgow, All India Radio brings to you a ready reckoner. Under the COP26 Explainer series, we shall bring for you the terms and concepts in use during the conference. Today, we shall talk about adaptation. Adaptation is the process of adjustment to climate change and its effects. The purpose is to reduce the harm and utilize the potential opportunities. Adaptation seeks to lower the risk posed by the consequences of climate change. Examples of adaptation include using scarce water resources, more efficiently adapting buildings to future climate conditions and extreme weather events, and developing drought-tolerant crops. The adaptation programs result in creation of green jobs, reduce risk for the poor and vulnerable, and protect our environment for the future generations. AIR News spoke to Anish Dey, Global Head, Power and Utilities, KPMG, on the importance of climate adaptations.
We are seeing escalating events of climate change with greater intensity as we move forward. The adaptation will help protect citizens, it will help protect industries, it will help make the world more livable in the face of the climate adversities which we are going to face. And adaptation is also very important because it helps the wider population at large and particularly the poor. So this is where it has to be a great part of the focus along with mitigation. It will require a lot of effort. It will require a lot of financing to happen. We haven't seen that kind of financing yet come into adaptation. But as we go forward in time, we have to see a lot more focus on adaptation.
Former President of the United States, Mr. Barack Obama, criticized China and Russia for what he described as a dangerous lack of urgency in acting on climate change. Mr. Obama, speaking on Monday at the COP26 conference in Glasgow, called upon developed countries to take the lead in climate action.
The escalation, the ratcheting up of ambition that we anticipated in Paris 6 years ago has not been uniformly realized. I have to confess, it was particularly discouraging to see the leaders of two of the world's largest emitters, China and Russia, decline to even attend the proceedings. And their national plans so far reflect what appears to be a dangerous lack of urgency, a willingness to maintain the status quo on the part of those governments. And that's a shame. We need advanced economies like the U.S. and Europe leading on this issue. But you know the facts. We also need China and India leading on this issue. We need Russia leading on this issue, just as we need Indonesia and South Africa and Brazil leading on this issue. We can't afford anybody on the sidelines.
Elsewhere, the Foreign Minister of Tuvalu delivered a message to COP26 while standing knee-deep in seawater. Tuvalu is a Pacific island state at a risk of disappearing due to climate change.
The United Kingdom has recognized India-made Covaxin developed by Bharat Biotech. In a statement, the British government said Covaxin will be officially recognized from November the 22nd. Covaxin will be added to the list of approved COVID vaccines for inbound travel, benefiting more fully vaccinated people from countries like India. Passengers who have been fully vaccinated with Covaxin and have received their vaccine certificate will not be required to take a pre-departure test. Day 8 test or self-isolate upon arrival in the United Kingdom. Elsewhere, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the National Public Health Agency of the United States, listed India's Covaxin as one of the vaccines accepted for travel into the country. Meanwhile, India's Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia has said that at present 96 countries have agreed to mutual acceptance of vaccination certificates, and also those who recognize Indian vaccination certificates of travelers fully vaccinated with Covishield and WHO and nationally approved COVID vaccines. These countries include Canada, United States of America, Bangladesh, Poland, Slovenia, Croatia, Bulgaria, Turkey, Greece, Finland, Switzerland, Sweden, Austria, Ukraine, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Russia, Georgia, United Kingdom, France, Germany, among others. Dr. Mandavia said it is a reflection of worldwide acceptance of India's vaccines and vaccination process.
The Indian Navy played a critical role during the liberation of war Bangladesh in 1971. Its Operation X incapacitated the supply lines of Pakistan, forcing it to surrender quickly in the war. The Indian High Commission in Bangladesh organized a program on a book named Operation X written on the subject. A special correspondent from Dhaka, Rajesh Jha, has filed this report.
The High Commission of India in Bangladesh organized a book reading session today to discuss the role of Naval Commando Operation named Operation X, during the 1971 Liberation War of Bangladesh. The role of the Indian Navy in the Liberation War of Bangladesh in 1971 was described by the war veterans from India and Bangladesh. 3 naval war veterans from India and several others from Bangladesh took part in it during the book reading of Operation X, authored by Captain M.N.R. Samant and Sandeep Unnithan. The co-author of the book, Operation X, Sandeep Unnithan, described the events that took place during Operation X.
Operation is possibly one of the largest such naval guerrilla operations after the Second World War, and this involved training 432 Mufti Bahini fighters from Bengal, from East Pakistan, to become combat swimmers, which meant that they were taught to swim carrying limpet mines. They were trained as naval saboteurs, and this training began somewhere in April of May of 1971, and it went on till August of 1971.
On the occasion of the Golden Jubilee celebration of the liberation of Bangladesh and the birth centenary year of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, many programs are being organized by the High Commission of India in Bangladesh. Rajesh Jha for AIR News, Dhaka.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alert.
Welcome back to World News. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a feature on the Delhi Regional Security Dialogue to be held on Wednesday in light of the crisis in Afghanistan.
The developments in the recent past in Afghanistan have been a reflection of how ethnic loyalties in the tribal groups, aided and abetted by a neighboring country, in this case Pakistan, have thrown open new challenges for the global community. It all started with the Taliban takeover of Afghan capital Kabul on the 15th of August this year. Since then, the world has seen how the human rights in the country are at the mercy of gun-toting militia, women are at the crossroads, economy is on the brink, and the infighting among the various groups is the order of the day. The deep-rooted sectarian divide has the potential for a prolonged civil strife in the country. India will host the Delhi Regional Security Dialogue on Afghanistan on the 10th of November, bringing together senior security officials of regional countries to discuss developments in Kabul following the Taliban takeover. The meeting in New Delhi is of huge significance as it comes after the fall of Afghanistan to the Taliban in August and Taliban's efforts to get legitimacy globally. The dialogue will be held at the level of National Security Advisors or Secretaries of Security Councils and will be chaired by National Security Advisor of India, Sri Ajit Dhobal. The Delhi Regional Security Dialogue on Afghanistan will witness an expanded participation of Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, Russia, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, who will all be represented by their respective National Security Advisors or Secretaries of the Security Councils. Expressing happiness over the initiative, Ashok Sajjanhar, former ambassador of India, said that the high-level dialogue will review the security situation in the region arising from recent developments in Afghanistan. It will deliberate upon measures to address the relevant security challenges and support the people of Afghanistan in promoting peace, security and stability.
I think it's a very important meeting, and I am particularly happy to note that India has taken this initiative because it's been mentioned for the last 3 months or so, ever since Taliban was increasing its dominance and control over Afghanistan. It has been bad strategic loss for India because India was present in Afghanistan in a big way for the last 20 years, ever since the United States came in 2001 and dislodged the Taliban government. Since that time, India has been present. It has had excellent relations with the administrations, whether of Hamid Karzai or of Ashraf Ghani. And most importantly, it has had excellent relations with the people of Afghanistan. And when the Taliban came and India had to move its embassy out also, India-based personnel out of Kabul, and then it was thought that India did not have any presence at all. And although Afghanistan is an extremely important, it's a part of our extended neighborhood, it's a part of SAARC. So India was losing its presence and its influence there. So in that context, I think it is very useful that India is organizing this NSA's meet.
Two earlier meetings in this format were held in Iran in September 2018 and December 2019. The third meeting in India could not be held as scheduled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. India has also invited Pakistan and China for the meeting. However, both countries are not participating. China said that it is unable to attend the meeting due to scheduling issues, but it is open for dialogue with India on Afghanistan multilaterally and bilaterally. Pakistan had earlier indicated through the media that it will not attend. Pakistan has not participated in the previous meetings as well, which had taken place in Iran. Former diplomat Anil Wadhwa opined, despite Pakistan's absence, the meeting is important since countries like India, Iran and Russia are participating. He expressed optimism on a positive and definite outcome from the meet.
I don't think there was any expectation from the very beginning that the Pakistani NSA would be attending this conference because, as I said earlier, Pakistan does not want India to play any role whatsoever in the process in Afghanistan. That does not mean that the others are unimportant because you have very important players like Iran, like Russia, India. You also have the Central Asian states which border Afghanistan. Without their support, the Taliban government will be in difficulty. And I'm sure that there would be a positive way which will evolve going forward.
The Indian government has cautioned the global community not to rush into any formal recognition of the setup created in Kabul by the Taliban following the group's takeover of the country in mid-August. It has also urged the international community to ensure that the Taliban deliver on their commitments that Afghan soil will not be used by terror groups, especially Pakistan-based organizations such as Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. On Pakistan's insipid response to India's invite, Mr. Wadhwa said that Pakistan is circumspect of any Indian role in Afghanistan because it would suit their attempts to foment terrorism against India better.
The fact that Pakistan does not want any Indian influence in Afghanistan is well known, and that they've been trying for a very, very long time. During the previous governments in Afghanistan, which were democratic governments, we've seen that those governments have been very close to the Indian establishment. They did not allow their soil to be used against India, especially for terrorist purposes, for hosting of terrorist camps, which the Pakistanis want to do in order to avoid the scrutiny of the FATF, while at the same time pursuing the policy of covert action against India. And this will only succeed if you have a pliant government in Afghanistan which actually complies with the ISI.
Ahead of the meeting, the deputy spokesman for the Taliban told in Kabul on Saturday that the people of Afghanistan welcome all the summits that aim to help Afghanistan. According to local media reports from Kabul, he said that the rights of the people of Afghanistan should be ensured. The regional security dialogue assumes significance in the sense that the participating nations are looking at ways and means to ensure an inclusive and stable Afghanistan and address the humanitarian concerns there. The high-level participation in the meeting reflects the widespread and growing concern of regional countries about the situation in Afghanistan and their desire to consult and coordinate with each other. Russian NSA Nikolai Patrusheva's participation is of particular significance for India because of Moscow's leading role in formulating an international response to the situation in Afghanistan.
The presence of the Russian and the Iranian NSAs and the presence of the other NSAs from Central Asia, that will be extremely useful, extremely fruitful in getting a very productive result out of these deliberations. The Russian NSA will be here twice in sort of a little more than 2 months. Last time he was here, it was on the 8th of September. And that was an immediate fallout of the conversation that had taken place between Prime Minister Modi and President Putin on the 26th of August, and where President Putin had called Prime Minister Modi and they had established a personal direct channel to be able to discuss with each other and share their thoughts and ideas with each other on the situation in Afghanistan. Because I think many of these countries, Russia, Iran, etc., they had thought that the commitments that have been made by Taliban, they would be able to stick to them. But now it has become very clear that Taliban has observed all these commitments more in breach rather than in following them.
The enthusiastic response from the Central Asian countries to India's invite has been attributed to the importance attached to India's role to promote peace and security in Afghanistan. Smaller Central Asian countries are more susceptible to terrorist threats and radicalization, and they are the ones which fear instability in their neighborhood. There has been an influx of refugees from Afghanistan, and there are also fears that militants could enter the region under the guise of seeking asylum. Ashok Sajjanhar, former ambassador of India, pointed out that the Central Asian states will lean on Russia to mitigate their security concerns if the violence and instability in Afghanistan continues.
Russia considers the Central Asian countries to be its soft underbelly, and that if the terrorist groups in Afghanistan or even elements of the Taliban itself, if they are able to create problems or difficulties for the Central Asian countries, then it will have a direct impact on Russia also. That is why Russia, whether it is under the aegis of the CSTO, the Collective Security Treaty Organization, or bilaterally, it has been having very many exercises, military exercises with many Central Asian countries. With Tajikistan, it has its largest base in Tajikistan, and it has been doing very many military exercises with the Tajik forces. It has also promised that if there are anti-Tajik establishment elements which try to come into Tajikistan from the southern borders, then Russia will stand ready to protect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Tajikistan. Similarly, in Uzbekistan, although Uzbekistan is not a member of CSTO, but they've been having bilateral military exercises. And the presence of the Islamic State, Khorasan province, which has been carrying out so many attacks in Afghanistan since the Taliban took power, and also the presence of Al-Qaeda, which is very closely intertwined with the Haqqani network. I think these are all matters of worry for both Russia as well as Iran. And we recently also had the Kyrgyz NSA in India. We also had the Kazakh NSA. So I think we are on the same wavelength. We are on the same thinking plane as far as most of these countries are concerned. So I think this meeting holds promise of being a very substantive and forward-looking deliberation, which would be helpful to bring peace and security in Afghanistan.
As the situation in Afghanistan unfolds, all eyes are on whether the international community will be looking forward to address the concerns of the people of Afghanistan with an inclusive government and to provide unimpeded and unhindered access of humanitarian aid as the harsh winter approaches. India is still waiting for Pakistan's response to its proposal of sending humanitarian aid to Afghanistan through the land route via the Wagha-Attari border. Kabul is ready to accept aid from India. This is following the meeting with Indian officials in Moscow. India has insisted that all humanitarian assistance for the Afghan people should be routed through the UN and international organizations and distributed without discrimination. Emphasizing on India's developmental projects in Afghanistan, former Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar highlighted India's contribution in institution building, promoting socio-economic development and capacity building of youth and women in Afghanistan.
India has done a large number of projects there, whether it is major infrastructure projects, it is the Pule-Khumri communication park line to transmit electricity, or it is the Zaranj-Dilaram road, more than 200 kilometers of highway joining these two major cities in Afghanistan, or it is the Salma Dam, which is known now as the Afghanistan-India Friendship Dam, or the Parliament building. In addition to that, we've done about more than 500 high-impact community development projects in all the 34 provinces. So India was present in a very big way in terms of making a difference to the livelihood of the people.
India has traditionally enjoyed close and friendly ties with the people of Afghanistan and has called for a unified international response to address the security and humanitarian challenges facing Afghanistan. The forthcoming meeting is a step in that direction.
President Ramnath Kovind on Tuesday conferred Padma Awards for the year 2021 on prominent personalities at the civil investiture ceremony held at Rashtrapati Bhavan. This year, the list comprises 7 Padma Vibhushan, 10 Padma Bhushan and 102 Padma Shri awards. These prestigious awards were given in 2 sets, for which the ceremony was held in the morning as well as in the evening. Here is a desk report.
Sculptor Sudarshan Sahu, archaeologist Professor Braj Basilal were given Padma Vibhushan, while playback singer S.P. Balasubramaniam, Indian-American scientist Dr. Narendra Singh Kapani, popularly known as father of optical fiber, and world-renowned Islamic scholar and Gandhian peace activist Maulana Wahiduddin Khan were awarded the Padma Vibhushan posthumously by the President.
मौलाना वहीदुद्दीन खान मरणोपरांत अध्यात्म उनके पुत्र डॉक्टर सनिया सनैन खान.
Subhadra Ramachandran for AIR News.
4 astronauts safely returned from a record 6-month NASA science mission aboard the International Space Station. The crew safely splashed down with their SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule in the Gulf of Mexico on Monday. NASA in a statement said that it was their second long-duration commercial crew mission to the International Space Station. NASA astronauts Shane Kimbrough and Megan McArthur, JAXA astronaut Akiko Hoshide and ESA astronaut Thomas Pesquet returned to Earth in a parachute-assisted splashdown Monday night off the coast of Florida. The Crew 2 mission launched on the 23rd of April on a Falcon 9 rocket from the NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Moving on to sports, in ICC T20 World Cup 2021, India beat Namibia by 9 wickets in Dubai Monday night when India made 136 for 1 in 15.2 overs after Namibia scored 132 for 8 in a stipulated 20 overs. Now, England and New Zealand will play the first semi-final on Wednesday at Sheikh Zayed Stadium in Abu Dhabi, while Pakistan and Australia will play the second semi-final, which is set to take place on Thursday at Dubai International Cricket Stadium. These are the 4 teams that have qualified for the semi-finals of ICC T20 World Cup 2021. All India Radio is broadcasting ball-by-ball commentary of the World Cup matches.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Tolo News says US worried by increase of Daesh attacks in Afghanistan. Khalid Times reports UAE reports 72 COVID-19 cases and 90 recoveries. Himalayan Times says Supreme Court justices who have been protesting against Chief Justice Cholendra Shamsher J.B. Rana for violating the Code of Conduct continued their protest today by hearing only habeas corpus writ petitions. Financial Times writes UK plans to scale back corporate governance reforms after business backlash. The Globe and Mail reports hundreds of migrants camp in freezing temperatures amid rising tensions at Poland-Belarus border. Wall Street Journal writes US tests Israel's Iron Dome in Guam as defense against Chinese cruise missiles. The Guardian says COVID vaccine to be compulsory for all NHS England staff by April. The Washington Post reports international travel ban ends as US borders open to visitors from dozens of countries. And South China Morning Post writes Taiwan's defense ministry reveals extent of US military cooperation. A quick look at the headlines once again. Delhi Regional Security Dialogue convened by India over Afghanistan situation to be held on Wednesday in New Delhi. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval holds bilateral talks with his counterparts from Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. The US and the UK recognizes India's co-vaccine COVID vaccination for inbound travel. Health Minister hails global acceptance of India's vaccines and vaccination process as 96 countries have agreed to mutual acceptance of vaccination certificates with India. President Ramnath Kovind confers Padma Awards for the year 2021. Singer S.P. Balasubramanian, Indian-American scientist Dr. Narendra Singh Kapani and Gandhian peace activist Maulana Wahiduddin Khan awarded Padma Vibhushan posthumously. Crew 2 astronauts return after record mission at the International Space Station, and in the ICC Men's T20 World Cup, England to take on New Zealand in the first semi-final on Wednesday. India is celebrating the 152nd birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Cambodia on their National Day.
Vaishnav Jan
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.